listening to the Healthy Christian Women Podcast, brought to you by Fit+Faith, the podcast for Christian women to grow healthier in their mind, body, and spirit. Jumpstart your health with your complimentary mind, body, and spirit detox checklist at healthychristianwomen.com/detox. That's healthychristianwomen.com/detox. Here's your host, Dr. Melody Stevens.
Hi, and welcome to the Healthy Christian Women Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Melody Stevens, founder of Fit+Faith, and I'm so excited to be bringing you today Megan Jocks. She is an absolutely incredible, Holy Spirit-led certified personal trainer, and she has an amazing story of helping people move forward in their health, fully guided by the Holy Spirit. It is a beautiful thing to witness and to be a part of, and I am excited to bring her on today to talk to us about how we move forward in our health and what it looks like to have God fully present in your health journey and moving you forward. And when I was asking her about herself and how did she want to be introduced and how she got into her business that she has that she'll tell us a little bit more about, I asked her, how do you want me to introduce you? And she said, I'm basically like the Buddy the Elf for Jesus. And I just thought that was so awesome because who doesn't love Buddy the Elf? And the movie Elf is so hilarious. And just that character being so overwhelmingly enthusiastic about Santa. But in this case, it is her being absolutely enthusiastic about the transforming power of Jesus Christ. And so I thought that was amazing. So welcome, Megan. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored and excited. And yes, just anything to get to glorify Jesus, that is what I'm all about. And so I love being a part of what you're doing here.
Yes, thank you. So you are also a trainer with the Revelation Wellness, which is what a lot of women here know about. It is online videos and exercise workouts that are really injected with God all throughout it. And it's an awesome thing to be a part of. So you are leading the way there in Tennessee, correct?
There's a number of other trainers here now, or at least Revelation Wellness instructors, but I was the first one here. So it's been amazing and so awesome to get to finally have other sisters who are just as weird as I am when it comes to fitness and Jesus. And I remember just when I was going through it and God was teaching me what he was, there was nobody else. I mean, I was just this weirdo that was just thinking like, oh, I can hear from God during my workouts. And now Revelation Wellness has really opened the door for so many to be just as weird and just as free, and it's awesome. So yeah.
That is totally beautiful. So tell us a little bit about how you came to do what you do, and the spin that you have on being a personal trainer and helping people.
Yeah, so I've been a personal trainer about 10 years. I had been a personal trainer and had my own business in Kansas that was doing really, really well. And I was training people by the book, the way every personal trainer trains, getting people what they thought they wanted. And it was all good. But the Lord moved us to Nashville, and I started working at a nonprofit girls' residential home. And the girls there had some type of life-controlling issue, whether it be eating disorder, self-harm, suicide, anything and every combination of thing you can think of. And because it was a holistic program, part of the day, the girls' day was fitness. So I moved, me and my family moved here to Nashville to be the fitness manager there. And I thought that the hardest part of my job was going to be organizing 40 girls' fitness programs and what they needed. And as a trainer, you listen to the people's goals and then you help them get what they think that they want. And my job there was just so different than what I anticipated. And really what I quickly realized was that the girls there needed something different. They didn't need another program. They didn't need me telling them again how many calories in, calories out, how hard to run, how fast to go. There had to be something different. And what did I really have to offer them that was different? And the answer at that time was nothing. I had nothing different. I had everything the world had already taught them, and really everything that, until we ask the Holy Spirit, everything we know, right? Like everything the books have told us, they had all of that. So I realized I needed the Lord to really teach me something new. I needed to learn a different way. because I couldn't give them anything different. And they were desperate for something different. The eating disorders, the body image disorders were ruining these girls' lives. It was stealing their destiny and their purpose. And I really felt the weight of that coming into it. And I was like, Lord, I'm clueless. I reached out to my certification programs and stuff, and I just asked the basic questions of how do you help recover somebody who has been in anorexia, bulimia, or a body image dysmorphia. And they said, you don't. So everywhere I turned that was supposed to give me some answers, they had none. So it really left me vulnerable and at a place desperate to hear from God. And I wanted to give them something different. So I threw out everything I knew. I just went to the Lord, open hands, and I said, I know what books say. I know what the world says. I know what other trainers say. I know all that, but God, I have no clue what you say. Do you care? Are you so involved in our lives that you're willing to give us our own training programs, our own nutrition, to where we don't have to search Google every day, or we don't have to be dependent on, a nutritionist or, a fitness person? Like, what do you say? And so that's where my journey started. And I started with myself, and I started asking the Lord, what does this look like? And he started, where he started was on my thoughts. And I realized when I had so many girls coming in and coming out, the things they perceived about themselves, in my opinion, were most of the time not even true. So over time, the way they had trained their mind to think and see themselves and perceive their thighs or their, whatever, their ears even, anything. And for most women, they could say the same thing. If I asked you right now, what's the top 3 places on your body you don't like? Most women can give me an answer for that. And I took all that stuff to the Lord and I said, God, this is normal. Like, everybody feels this way. And he told me it's normal, but it's not my heart. And that's when I really started digging in, and I'm like, what is your heart? And just in my mind, that is where the training started. What was I focusing my thoughts on? First thing in the morning, what did I allow to come against my face or against my body or against, if the enemy can get you in the first 30 minutes of your day, he's won.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always mean shame. That can be pride too.
Absolutely.
It's shame or pride. So that's kind of what started my journey and how my training got into the way that it has. And so now the way that I train is really teaching my clients how to surrender their goals and how to really show up every single day just to encounter the Lord, just to hear his voice, how to move with him, how to surrender their ideas of good nutrition. Because that's the other thing. When you have an eating disorder or a body image disorder, freedom doesn't always mean a salad. And that was a real hard thing for my brain to digest, because I, as a health professional, know freedom always means the salad, right? Like, it normally always means the salad, or it always means the healthier choice.
Sure.
But in this dynamic, the Lord was showing me, I really didn't even know that. If you're talking about wholeness and health, body, mind, and spirit, you really have to throw out everything that you think you know about food and about fitness in order to step in to really intimacy in these things. And that intimacy is where your body, mind, and spirit always thrive. It will always thrive in that space.
Wow, that's amazing. So your training programs, they're very different. They are fully guided and directed by that individual's needs, but you are surrendering them even when they may not be surrendering themselves. You're surrendering your work with them to let God lead the two of you and to kind of show them and open up their mind to some very counter-cultural ideas, both from the traditional health world, but also, world in general. Like you had mentioned to me before that sometimes God was saying, eat that piece of pizza, versus people, they're just like, oh my gosh, how could a trainer ever tell me to do that? But there's much more at stake, or much more going on in their mind around that piece of pizza,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why the training is not, when I say healthy, again, like what I said, it's opening your mind to what does God have for me? And if you have somebody who struggles with eating disorders, and it's both ways, it's really both ways. You know, what does pizza mean to you? And I guess my point with all of that really is, it's not conventional. And when my clients come here at this point, like I've worked in a gym and I've done this in a gym, I've done this in a home, and now I'm in my own space. But now people are basically coming to me because they know that I hear from God and they trust that process. And it is a scary one because we are saying, God, I don't know. I don't know where this is going to lead me, because in all honesty, sometimes it doesn't lead to the smaller pants. What do we do with that? What do we do with that? But you're walking it surrendered. You're genuinely walking surrendered. And that was a part of my story too. When I just listened for the Holy Spirit for my nutrition, I said, okay, God, if I asked you, like I would ask a trainer myself, what do I eat? What do I drink? How often, right? Anything that any diet will give you, all the rules of when do I eat, how much, how often. And I said, what would happen if I asked you that thing? So I sat down with my pen and my paper, and I was by myself, and I just journaled the very first things that came up. And they came like that. I was like, okay. And it wasn't what I would choose for myself. It was actually had very few rules. And at that point in my journey, I was very high raw vegan. If you know anything about raw vegan, we have rules for rules. Like,
Sure.
There's a lot of rules. And so it felt scary to me, because at that point, and God's changed my nutrition program because he's living and I'm living and my body changes. So he continues to change it over time. At that point, it was so scary that it was like there were not enough rules. But I said, I'm going to give this 30 days and I'm just going to see what happens. And I had to trust, and I said, God, if this isn't you, I'm going to just trust that you will cover this in your grace. Because at that point, I didn't know that I heard God's voice as clear as I do.
Okay.
So I asked him just to cover it. And I was committed. And I did that same thing with my fitness. And I said, okay, how much would you have me work out? How long? And what would you have me do? His workout plan was so much shorter than mine was, because at that point too, I was an hour a day, insanity style workouts.
Okay.
So just a lot, right? And prided myself on that. And so when he really just blew my mind on how much he wanted me to pull back, it was scary. You're handing over control of the one thing that our society says, well, at least you can have control over your body. Sure. And whether that's to overdo it or underdo it or whatever, at least we can sigh a sigh of relief when we have control over our body.
Wow.
And so when I just trusted and I said, God, I'm going to do this. And I did it for 30 days. And through that process, like I would feel like I wanted to weigh myself. I'd be like, oh, let's see if this is working. And he was like, what are you measuring? What are you measuring? Your surrender? What are you going to measure on? What's that scale going to tell you? How surrendered you are? And I was like, oh, I guess I'm not going to weigh.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And same with the mirror, checking the mirror, standing sideways, or doing whatever we do in the mirror.
Right.
He would say, what are you going to find in there? Are you going to find your worth in there? What are you looking for when you do that? And he would check me. Every time I would go back to the world's way of measuring success, he would heart check me and go, okay, it's an option, but you said you're surrendered and you're walking with me. So you're going to have to find a new way of measuring your success, because you've surrendered all that. So at the end of the 30 days, I couldn't tell you if I weighed more, if I weighed less. I really had no idea. I had learned the value of staying connected to my body. So not ignoring my body, but also not like checking it for what I think I need in there. So I stood in front of a mirror, and for the first time in my underwear, and did a full body scan, and I was like, really loved my body for the first time. And I had spent my whole life fighting for that feeling of like being okay with my body. And I had done all the programs. I was a trainer. I knew all the rules. And not once had I stepped into freedom, not once, or a true sense of peace where it wasn't stolen the next day if I didn't eat right or if I didn't show up in my workout. Like it was just this contentment, and I was working out less, and my nutrition, like I said, there were like hardly any rules as far as what I was used to. And I just stayed very close to him through that entire 30 days. And I had so much joy, so much peace, so much hope, so much love, all the fruit of the Spirit. That was success.
Yep.
And I had no idea that was possible. And I think like a couple days later, I put on some pants and they were a little bit tight. And I was like, okay, Lord, like this is tight. It's a little uncomfortable. And I was like, I just need to know if I need to buy bigger pants, if this is the way we're going, or, you know, and he asked me and he said, if it means you keep getting bigger, will you keep following me? And at that point in my life, you know, bigger for me was not the direction as a trainer you're ever trying to go, really. And I had to think for a second, because I was like, okay, what has the last 30 days been? I've had joy, peace. I've been present with my family, not always wondering how I measure up compared to other people, not assessing myself. I just had so much peace in my mind and my body and everything, and joy. And after I assessed that, I said, yes, Lord. If it means I keep getting bigger, I will keep following you. But I will follow you. I wasn't making up my own rules. That's the difference. It's not about a hard right or a hard left. It's really taking the responsibility off of you to figure it out, and you and God going on this new journey together and allowing him to lead you, and you surrendering to the process. It frees you up so much. So I said yes. And then he changed my nutrition again, and he changed everything. So, and again, like my body's done a number of different things over the years, but my peace and my joy and my freedom remains as long as I allow him to continue to lead me, and I continue to trust him, along with just healing my body of things that needed healed of. Instead of me going and Googling, I simply go, okay, Lord, this is what's going on. Do I need to do anything different in my nutrition? What do I need to do? And he speaks. And some of the things he speaks, it goes past my brain, because I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense as what I know as a health professional. But Lord, it's what you say. And when I do it, healing, it's crazy. And it's so good.
That is so beautiful. That is so amazing and so encouraging, you know, just so encouraging, because I think you're right. I think so often in the church, it's like our health and our body is not big enough for God to really care about it. You know, it's like, it's not a salvation issue. I'm not going to lose my salvation and going to heaven and having a relationship with Jesus if I care about my health or if I don't care about my health, you know? So it's kind of like, well, since that's not going to take me away from heaven and from eternal life because I've accepted Jesus in my heart, well, then does he really care about this? Or are we just being vain, you know?
Yeah.
Just wanting to serve the flesh and wanting to have other people's approval. And that's why we're really caring about our body or our health or our image at all, you know? So then there's guilt then. It's like, well, then I don't want to look too attractive because, you know, I don't want to attract the wrong type of person, or I don't want to give people the wrong impression, or I don't want to draw attention to myself, or whatever that happens to be. So there's so many body and physical like issues going on, you know? I feel like in the church that, I mean, this is just, this is beautiful, because in the end, this is what we're looking for. In the end, we're wanting that peace, and we're wanting that joy, and we're wanting that freedom, but we don't always know how to go about it, and we leave God out of it. and think that it's too small for him to really care about it. So I'm going to deal with this on my own, you know? And so this is just so different and so beautiful, but you're right. A difficult process to let that control go and to be like, God, are you really talking to me? Like, are you really telling me, you know, to do something that I've been told I shouldn't eat or shouldn't do? You know, like there's like so many questions rolling around in our head, but in the end, it's building our trust, and it's building that communication with God to ultimately learn how to communicate, how to quiet ourselves, how to live in that surrendered place, just trusting that even if we feel crazy, that we are doing our best, we're genuinely doing our best to try to surrender that part of our life and just have a dialogue with God rather than us taking it all on our own, you know?
Yeah, it's so good. So good. And that's just it. It's, as believers, our end goal, right, is intimacy. Like, I think it's in John 16 or John 17, where Jesus is pleading with the Father before he knows he's going to be crucified. It's like his last talk with God, and he's like, that they would be one. Like, if you read that passage, it's so beautiful. And Jesus pleads with God over and over and over that we, those who even say they believe in God, that they would have oneness. So there's a difference, like what you touched on, there's a difference between salvation and oneness. Otherwise, Jesus would not have mentioned them as separate. So in training or in life, our ultimate goal is oneness and to seek first the kingdom. And we got to be real with ourselves, because we've been sold a big lie that it's like oneness as long as we still get what we want. And I have to really work with that with my clients, some on, okay, surrendering. God wants to hear your desires, right? Like, that's one thing that, you know, if we talk about just how to get started in this process, that really being honest with yourself, okay, what do I want? What do I think, what size do I think I would be happy in? What weight do I think I would be happy in? And confessing that all before the Lord and getting it out on the table, because he's a loving Father. He wants to hear your heart. And so many times we do want to do, we think like, oh, well, that stuff doesn't matter, so I'll just go this way. And okay, yeah, but the only way we can get around that, because as humans, we carry our like desires, is we got to take them to the throne. It's the only way you can move forward in oneness is to take your stuff to the throne and then lay it down and then trust him so you can walk the journey out. But yeah, so I don't know what got me on that tangent, other than it's beautiful just to even hear, you know, you say it back, and it is hard trusting the Lord with that. But when you realize you can take all those desires and set them down before his throne, like set them at his feet. And then it's like, okay, do I trust you with these? I can trust you with these. And now I'm going to just go do what you asked me to do. And if I get them, if I don't, whatever, I know that they're here for you. I'm not going to measure for them. I'm not going to seek after them. Now I can be free to seek after you in my fitness and nutrition. You hear all my concerns. You see what I think that I would want. But ultimately, I know that what you have for me is so much better. So I'm going to go, now I'm free to go after them. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh yeah. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Trusting God with those desires, you know, and yeah, that's a great place to start, and a great visual. You know, he already sees and knows our heart and our thoughts anyway. So when we turn those over to him, instead of saying, well, this is what I want, I'm going to go after it, say, this is what I want. You know that, and you love me, and you have my best interest in mind, and I'm going to exercise and grow my trust and my faith that you will not let these things just fall away, that you have them and I can trust you with them. And now let's go on this journey together, you know, and that's just such a different way of approaching it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. One of the things I remember you saying, and I want to kind of wrap it up with this, is during your workouts, and I don't know if you do this for all your workouts or not, so I'd love to know, but you focus on a verse, you know, I don't know if there's certain verses that you prefer or that you tend to, or how you kind of choose which ones, but you like to focus on a specific verse during your workout and help your mind get past what you're doing and concentrate on what God is speaking to you while you're working out. And that is a very different approach. And so I'd love for you to share about that real quick.
Sure. So even today in my own workout, I was in Psalm 33. And for my clients, a lot of times I would just use a random Bible app generator because, or random Bible verse generator, because I wanted them to know I wasn't formulating anything for them. I wasn't preparing the set for them before. Whatever came up, we meditated on, and I let God just speak to them through that. And half the time I would look at the verse and be like, I have no idea what's going to happen here. It maybe didn't even make sense to me. But today I just flipped open my Bible. I felt like the Lord was talking to me about going to Psalms. I just flipped it open, and it was Psalm 33. And so when I start my workout, in my warm-up, I'm confessing what I think. If there's anything in me, I ask the Lord, search me. So I'm just doing my warm-up, and I'm saying, search my heart. If there's anything in me that's trying to make this about me, show me so I can confess it and lay it down before you. So, holidays just happen. So that drives a lot of people to the gym. We pervert our worship by going, it's about me, but it's about you, but it's really about me. So I like to confess that right in the beginning and just say, Lord, yeah, there's this thing in me that's just saying, like, I'm a little outside of where I'm comfortable, and I don't want it to be about me. I don't want it to be about that. So I lay that down so that I can truly worship. And then that allows me to hear from God. You see what I mean? Because I got to get out of the way first. So confessing, just being honest where my heart's at. And then I'll take the verse and I'll just start working it out I have it on a board most of the time in my training session or in front of me. And so today was rejoice in the Lord, O ye righteous, for praises calmly for the upright. So if I can't continue to focus on that verse while I'm moving and God starts speaking to me through it, then I'm already doing it for myself. If I'm not willing to work on this verse and keep saying it over, okay, Lord, rejoice in the Lord. Okay, where's my joy been? Have I been rejoicing? What have I been doing with my breath? So I'll be asking the Lord these questions. I'll take it piece by piece. Lord, have I been rejoicing in you? And then I'll just allow him to speak to me. Now, for me, because I've kind of been doing this for a while, I can be doing burpees, jumping jacks, all that, and I can hear back from the Lord in that. When you're first starting out, you need to just go for a walk for a month and learn how to digest a verse with the Lord and hear back from him. Okay. Starting over that, because there's so much chaos at first. If you start trying to do burpees and hear from God and focus on your verse, you're gonna be like, what? This is crazy. So keep it simple. Start with something you don't have to do a lot of thinking about physically. Just go for walks or jogs, things that are very simple, and start that process. Start reading the word and then asking God questions about it and see what comes up for you in the very beginning. The very first thing that pops up, God speaks first. He gets to. He's God. So that'll be the first thing that comes up for you. And then as that relationship with you and God, you start realizing you're hearing him way more than you thought that you possibly could. Then start adding a little bit more dynamic movements, your jumping jacks, your jumping rope, things that aren't still causing or requiring a lot of thinking, but a little bit more. See if that, and if you ever get into your running and you have to finish whatever before you write down, like for me, I have to write down, and that's kind of my gauge of, am I walking surrendered? Because my flesh wants to finish the set. My flesh wants to go a little harder and finish till the timer. When the Lord speaks, though, he's like, hey, I'm speaking. This is about us and me, going deeper. So if I'm not willing to stop in a set, then really I'm using him to get what I want. Make sense? Mm-hmm. I'm kind of just doing the thing with slapping a Christian bumper sticker on it and saying, oh, no, it's for God. But really, I'm not being willing to surrender my movement even to write down the truths that he's giving me during that time. So
sorry.
Go ahead.
You keep then like a little notebook or like a pad then okay, you do. So you keep that with you that way when he reveals something to you, you don't just log it away in your mind, you physically write it down. Okay.
I do. Yeah. And he gives me so much regarding anything in my life, books that I'm writing, or with the stuff with my husband. He'll speak to me about my marriage. He'll speak to me about my kids, anything that, or even what he's doing in the world. Like, God wants that space, and you are a body, mind, and spirit creation. You are 3 in 1. And when you can train yourself in this, it is one of the few times in our day we really move our entire being in worship. When we learn how to do it unperverted, it's crazy the revelation that he births through that time. And so, yeah, I for sure am writing that stuff down in a journal, and I encourage all my clients to do the same thing.
I love that. I believe I'm going to begin encouraging people to do that as well. So just putting that out there right now. It's a great idea, and I would love to commandeer that and give you the credit for the idea. But I mean, that's just beautiful, and I love it, and really is challenging me as well, because I know that when I go on walks or jogs, that is when I feel that I hear from God the most. Like, we end up having like just such amazing like conversations because I don't take music with me or anything. Like, I'm just talking and, you know, and jogging or walking, and man, it's really amazing. But I have not taken it to the point where I'm writing things down. I've just kind of been like, you know, reflecting afterwards or like during it. And so that is taking it to the next level. And I really love that, because I think I'm probably missing things if I'm not writing them down, because when you start to get a lot of information, you're like, oh yeah, I'll remember that later. Oh yeah, I'll remember to write that down later. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, wait, but what was that? Or like, what was the exact wording, or what was like the exact phrase or whatever, you know? And so I love that.
And you think about, you know, if you are working for a big time company and the CEO comes in and he wants to tell you what's coming up, what you need to work on, you're not just going to be like, okay, you're going to be writing down, right? You're going to show interest, because, and so for me, that's something the Lord had to, I'm like, this is the King of Kings and like the Lord of Lords. If he is who I say he is, then what am I doing? Acting like I can just say, hold on a minute, let me finish this set. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I think it's amazing just to honor the Lord and say, I'm gonna write this down. And guess what? If I never finish that set, it's okay. And that for me, even in my own process, I had to really go, if I do one push-up today and I had an hour-long workout planned, but I have this whole page of revelation, you did good. Right? Like you got what you came for, really. Because when we've done fitness the way we've done it in the past, we were looking to be fulfilled for something, or to know that we're okay, or to know that we have worth, or to believe that maybe we have our health under control. But it's like this page like fulfills all of that with just his words. And my one push-up, who cares? You know?
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much. There is so much here for the women that I cannot wait to hear people's feedback and comments from this episode, because it is absolutely phenomenal. So many truth bombs happening, so many mindset shifts that are changing. Thank you so much, Megan, for sharing with us and for showing us the process that you have found and the freedom that you have found in your health and in your exercise style by surrendering it over to God, because nothing is too small or too big for him. And that includes the way we treat our body, the way we move our body and what we do. And you're just a living example of that. And I appreciate that so much. So tell us how we can get in touch with you. How do you want women to follow up with you? You're in the Nashville area.
Yeah. So you can email me at revwellnashville@yahoo.com. I'm also on Facebook or Instagram under Revwell Nashville. I do a lot of posting on Instagram. I'm trying to get up with the times. So you can find me there. And yeah, that's probably the best way to connect with me right now.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Megan. All right, everybody, you have amazing things to start taking action on. I cannot wait to hear that you are taking your little notepads with you as you begin looking at your health journey in a completely new way, surrendering your decisions and what you think you know you're supposed to do. And this is speaking to myself as well as we move forward in closer and closer oneness with God, seeing him involved in all areas of our life and truly submitting all areas of our life to him, this is going to be life transformational for you. So thank you for listening. Can't wait to hear all about it. Again, this is Dr. Melody Stevens with Healthy Christian Women Podcast. See you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Remember to subscribe and join me next week for the next episode of the Healthy Christian Women Podcast. Inspiring Christian women to live healthier in their mind, body, and spirit, one day at a time. Grab your complimentary mind, body, and spirit detox checklist at healthychristianwomen.com/detox. That's healthychristianwomen.com/detox.